Welcome back. Today, let's talk about case interviews. If you are preparing to go into consulting, there is no shortcut. You have to pass fit/behavioral interview, which is like just a normal interview where they ask you, tell us about yourself, a situation when. And then number 2, and most importantly, you have to pass case interviews. And if you're new into this world of consulting, you are exactly where I was when I first applied. I applied to MBB the first time, I didn't get in, and then I applied the second time, I got in. The first time I applied, I'm 100% sure I didn't get in because of the case interviews. Because all of a sudden I realized that there was this entire world of business cases that I did not know about. And I quickly prepared, I memorized most of the frameworks. I thought that is how people do it. Actually, that is mistake number 1, and I want you to watch for that. All the frameworks that you go through during your practices, they are not meant to be memorized. Yes, you need to have it in your mind, but never download it as is. I can't remember the details of the case, but I think it was just something, an interviewer during the interview, the first time that I didn't get in, the interviewer read a case, and I was like, that is so easy. Like, I've seen that case, and I remember just downloading the framework as is without changing a thing. I think I just want profitability, revenue, cost. On the cost side, variable, fixed. Interviewers are watching to see if you are mechanical or robotic. And if you're just like downloading memorized frameworks, they do not like that. Because guess what? In the real world, those frameworks cannot be used as they are. They have to be edited or adapted to reflect the client context or the case at hand. And so what you want to demonstrate during case interview is that you are already showing that skill of adapting the framework that you might know. You have to adapt it to the client context, to the case at hand. When I was preparing, like I mentioned, the first time I didn't get in, during that entire process of preparing for case interviews, I went through 5 books. I read 5 books. I'll try and find out which books those were and share with you guys. You might want to go through. It's not mandatory, but I'm a scholar. I like to read. I like to research and study. So I was like, you know what, let's do this. And then I went through, I think, 500 cases during those 2-year period of preparing, trying to get into consulting. And so while preparing for this episode, I just went back to my notes. I made really nice notes. I went back to my notes and I just lifted top 12 frameworks that I had summarized in my notes that kept coming up over and over, and I'll be sharing with you guys. This is just to guide you. It's a starting point, and this is specially made for someone who is just realizing that there is this entire world of business cases and they are not sure where to begin. So begin here, and then from here, continue building. Before we get in, let's just understand what a framework is. And to understand what a framework is, it's not a template. Because I think that is the mistake. I keep mentioning this. That is a mistake many people make. They take the framework as a template. It's not a template. A template is it's a document that is fixed. Like, you cannot edit. It's a template. You just fill in. You're given a template, you fill in your name, your address, and you do not change. In fact, most of the templates, you cannot even edit the title. You've just been given boxes where you add your information. It's a template, it's fixed, and then you send it out. A framework is not a template, and that is one mistake many people make. So a framework, it's just a reusable mental model that is adaptable. If you are not adapting to a case, then you are using it as a template and you are using it wrong. And the interviewer is watching out for that. So as we go through these frameworks, just know that understand how it works, understand the principles behind it, and make sure you adapt it to the case. Number 1, this is not really, I don't know if I would call this a framework, but I think it's a framework. But let's start from here because this is the building block. This is the principle number 1. If you are tensed and you forget everything during casing, or during case interview, just remember this one. And so if you learn how this number 1 works, you are safe. Number 1 is issue trees and missy thinking. And if you can learn this, I can assure you, actually all the other frameworks that I'll be sharing, they are literally built from issue trees and missy thinking. It's just that someone else did the thinking using issue trees and missy thinking, and then generated a framework that we now kind of refer. Like the profitability one, right? That we keep seeing, revenue and cost. Someone just used issue tree and missy thinking and developed that framework for us. So if you understand issue trees and missy thinking, the building blocks of any framework, then you can build a framework on your own. And so it's important that you understand how this works. So what is an issue tree? Issue tree is just a visual hierarchical breakdown of central question into missy subcomponents. And I think the one that I like using, because it's really easy to visualize and to follow, is the profitability, and then can be broken into revenue on one hand, and then on the other hand, cost. So on an issue tree, you start you start with a question at the top, so profitability, and then you branch down into major possible explanation, and then you branch that explanation further into more branches below. Most of the time during the case interviews, you will just start with the top question and then one layer and then maybe another layer, and that is pretty much it. I don't think there is enough time to go deeper. Sometimes you might, sometimes not. Even most cases will just be like one question on the top and then one layer below, and that's it. So you mostly just have 1, 2, 3 most of the time. And what is MECE? I think I've talked about MECE. MECE. MECE means mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. And what that means is the branches should not overlap. So for profitability, for instance, if something is under revenue, it cannot be under revenue and under cost side at the same time. So they are mutually exclusive. Another example, if you are told to estimate the world's population, assuming you do not know anything about it, or a population of a country, right? So the easiest way, I think people would be like, I don't know, male, female, but I think that might be a little bit complicated. You could also use age. You could say population of a country. Let me think about people under 50 years and people 50 and above. If you are 85, you cannot be 85. You cannot be on the 85 side and on the other side. You have to be on one side at any given time. So that is mutually exclusive. Collectively exhaustive means it covers everything. So if you say population in the world is 0 to 50, people 0 to 50 years, and then 50 and above, you've kind of just covered everyone pretty much. You cannot hide anywhere in between. So that is collectively exhaustive. So that when you add this branch A plus branch B, you get the total without anything hiding. So most of the, actually not most, every framework is an issue tree that has messy thinking in it. And so if you just start training your mind to think about how to break things into mutually exclusive branches, it doesn't have to be only 2, by the way. You could also just 0 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 and above or something. It depends on the situation, again, we mentioned. So if you start training your mind as you go through every case to think about breaking things into an issue tree that is messy, that is it. That is pretty much it. You've got it. But let's just go through some examples. I have around 12 of them. I'll be telling you the framework. I'll be telling you where to use it, and maybe just read a practical case that you can try solving using such a framework. Let's start from profitability, because that is the most common one, or the people say it's the easiest, but not all the time. So profitability framework, it just literally decomposes a company's financial performance into 2 drivers: revenue and cost. On the revenue side, you could look at more things like pricing. You could look at volume or product mix. Many things in there. Like I mentioned, it depends on the business context. Some are simple, and you just go one layer and that is it. Some are complex and you need to dig deeper. Also, the words you use, you should adapt the wordings to fit the case. So for instance, on the cost side, you look at fixed cost, variable costs. On the fixed cost side, you can look at, I don't know, all those fixed costs like salaries, like rent. On the variable cost, if I'm selling 5 products today, when I increase those products to 20, what part of the cost changes? So for instance, the salaries, for instance, might not change because salary is fixed every month for the people working to make that product. But something that might change maybe something like raw materials. If you are using this raw material to build 5 things, if you increase that to 20, it means you've just increased the raw materials. So that is variable costs and many other things in there. So these are 4 things that will make your profitability framework stand out. Number 1, do not investigate both sides equally. And this goes to first thing that I want you to note down. I'm actually writing it down so that I don't forget. During the case interview, if you do not say prioritize, you have to mention somewhere, either by saying, let me prioritize, or by actually showing or demonstrating prioritization. In consulting, no two things can be treated equal. One has to be prioritized. And you have to mention that during case interview. Say something like, oh, let's look at the revenue and cost of this company. But because you mentioned that this company just changed their supplier and they started supplying from China from last month, and that is when they saw profitability go down, maybe the landing costs increased because of the changes in tariffs from what is going on in the world. Whatever it is, I'm just giving a random example, right? But you have to prioritize with a logic. Like something with a nuance, there is a nuance that the interviewer mentioned when they are reading the case. You make sure you note it down somewhere to help you logically prioritize. Number 2, something that will make your profitability framework stand out is you need to form a hypothesis. My hypothesis is that tariffs increased and that caused an increase in landing cost of the raw materials. So I want to prioritize cost side, particularly variable costs. Do we have any data that shows the cost of raw materials? So that is how to prioritize, number 1, and that is how to quickly form a hypothesis and drive the case forward. A disclaimer, by the way, most of the examples that I'll be giving is from my experience. I did most of my practicing for interviewee-led, because there are interviewer-led interviews and then there is interviewee-led. Interviewee-led is where the interviewee, you are driving the case. And I think it was mostly maybe BCG and Bain do interviewee-led, and I think McKinsey, they do interviewer-led. I went through this back in 2022. I don't know if it's changed much. You do your due diligence. When to use it? These are the signal prompts to watch out or to help you figure out if you need to use your profitability framework. Number 1, profits are declining. You start here, you map revenue and cost, hypothesize which side is the problem before asking any question. Prioritize and hypothesize. Number 2, when to use this? When margins are under pressure. So the question is, the client's business margins, they've been under pressure. So if you focus on the cost side, fixed versus variable split, identify the largest cost driver and prioritize that one. Third one, how do we grow profitably? Number 4, M&A or investment cases. Use a sub-framework to evaluate targets' financial health and synergy potential. We'll talk about an M&A, I think, in one of the frameworks. A case in point, an example. Reading it out, you try it out on your own. In the mid-1990s, Southwest Airlines was achieving industry-leading profitability, while legacy carriers like American and United were reporting losses. Analysts needed to explain how Southwest could charge lower fares and still make money. You solved that case. Number 3, the 3 C's or 4 C's framework. Customer, company, competition. The 3 C's framework is originally from Kenichi Omae, The Mind of the Strategist. And this 3 C's framework, it analyzes a company's strategic position across 3 dimensions. The company itself. What is this company selling and what are they doing well? The capabilities, their culture. Number 2, who is the customer and what does this customer, what do they value? So understand the segment of the customer, understand the need, the willingness to pay, and then competition. Who else is competing with our company to serve these customer, so that you identify the gaps. So with 3 C's, it's a little bit different because we are not doing the lists like the others. We are interested in the intersection. So you look at the company and the customer to find where your strengths as a company meets the customer needs. And then that is where you find your value proposition. For instance, while I'm running this channel, my value proposition is I'm running this channel targeting advanced degree candidates who would like to go into consulting. This company, Management Consulting 101, the value proposition that I'm bringing is that I have an experience because I was an advanced degree candidate who was also transitioning into management consulting. And so when I'm comparing my channel to others, they might not have an advanced degree like I have. They might be talking about consulting, but maybe they don't have an advanced degree. To you, the customer, as I compete with other people on this YouTube platform to get your attention. And then number 2, you look at the customer and the competition. So you guys watching this, I'm looking at you watching other people's channels, and then I'm asking, what is the competition offering that is not fulfilling your needs? So that I identified the gap. And the gap that I was seeing, so for me to start this YouTube channel, was that I did not see many advanced degree candidates running YouTube channels targeting advanced degree candidates who want to go into consulting. And so that is the gap that I identified and I came in to fill. When to use this framework, for examples to use this framework, when you are looking at a growth strategy, who are our best customers? What do competitors offer them that we don't? Market entry, map the competitive landscape before deciding whether and how to enter. Number 3, competitive threats. A new rival just entered. How do we respond? 3 C's first, to map the terrain. Product and brand strategy. What does our target customer value? Where are competitors weak on that dimension? An example. In the late 1990s, Starbucks was evaluating whether and how to enter mainland China, a market with no significant coffee drinking culture and strong local tea traditions. Conventional wisdom said the market didn't exist. How would you help this client? Number 4, Porter's 5 forces. The framework analyzes the structural effectiveness of an industry by assessing 5 competitive pressures. So the 5 forces are supplier power, or the power of supplier. There is also the power of the buyer. And then there is the threat of new entrants. And then there is the threat of substitute. And then now competitive rivalry. And under supplier power, you can look at the number of suppliers, the switching costs, and all those other things. On the power of the buyer, you can look at the number of buyers, the purchasing volume. So that is just an example. After analyzing or using these five forces, you must answer the question overall: is this an attractive industry to operate in, and why? Some signals to tell you should use this framework. Number 1, should we enter this market? So you use the five forces first to assess whether the industry structure generates sustainable returns. Number 2, is this a good investment? Investor cases, these 5 forces assesses whether the target operates in attractive industry. The third one is, why are industry margins declining? Industry margins, remember, this is not like company margins. So diagnose which forces have intensified. Maybe there are new entrants, maybe substitute products. Competitive strategy cases. Understand the structural constraints a company operates within before recommending strategy. An example, in 2013 to 2015, Netflix was doubling down on original content production despite already dominating streaming industry. Analysts questioned whether this was rational given the costs that they were incurring. The 5 forces analysis explained the strategic logic perfectly. Number 5, the 2x2 matrix. This is more for prioritization, for effort impact, for risk reward mapping. So a 2x2 matrix is a visualization tool that plots options, initiatives, or entities across 2 independent dimensions, simultaneously creating 4 distinct quadrants. So the common configurations would be effort versus impact for initiative prioritization. So for instance, if something falls under low impact and high effort, you're doing a lot of work and the impact is so low, it's just like deprioritize this thing. Another thing that will come up again and again is the 80-20 principle. Out of 10 things that I can do, what 2 things can I do that will give me 80% of the results? Number 6, the SWOT analysis. SWOT, I think you've come across this. It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. These are structured situational analysis, and I think this one is self-explanatory. Number 7, value chain analysis. Value chain analysis maps the discrete activities a company performs to create, produce, deliver, and support its products or services, and identify where value and margin is created or is being destroyed. Something like inbound logistics. So if I was a manufacturing company, I would look at inbound logistics, like from the supplier, all the materials that I need to come in to my company. And then the actual operations, like what I'm doing end to end in my company to make that product that I'm selling, from the workers there, from the machines, from the, processes that are in the factory. Once the product A has been made, look at the outbound logistics from warehousing. Like, how do I store this product? How do I distribute to the end customer? Outbound logistics. Look at marketing and sales as well. Look at after sales services. So that is just like end-to-end value chain. When to use it? Cost reduction cases. Where in the value chain is cost being generated, which activity is over-resourced, operational efficiency. You map the chain, identify bottlenecks, compare against industry or benchmarks. M&A, merger and acquisition synergy analysis. How do the two companies that are merging, their value chains, where do they overlap? Competitive advantage diagnosis. Why is our competitor cheaper? What are they doing in their value chain that we are not doing? A situation, a case. In early 2000s, Zara was growing at extraordinary speed, while traditional fashion retailers like Gap and H&M reported declining margins. Consultants and academics wanted to understand the source of Zara's competitive advantage, so they did end-to-end value chain. Number 8, market entry framework. Should we enter this market or not? So this market entry framework helps to answer the most common strategic question. Should our client enter this new market? If so, how? If not, why? You will most likely use this when the company, your client, is considering a strategic entering a new geographical area, or considering geographical expansion, considering launching a new product, considering entering into a new customer segment. 4 core dimensions that you must look at while answering this question. The first one is the market attractive enough to enter? Client capabilities. Can this company compete? Any advantage? Financials. Will this generate profitable or acceptable returns? Number 3, entry strategy. If we are entering this market, how exactly should we enter? Number 9, how to launch a new product. This new product launch framework structures the 3 decisions any company must make when introducing a new product. Who to sell to, how to sell them, how to execute. Choosing the target segment. Which customers and why this segment. Number 2, you define the strategy, the launching strategy, which many people use 4 Ps. And that is product, price. Place means distribution. Where will you place it? Promotion means how will you promote it? Branding and advertising. Number 3, you want to look at implementation and execution. All the things needed to actually execute, make this launch a success. When to use it? How should we launch X product? Should we launch this product or not? New product in the existing market. New product in a new market. Number 10, how to price a product. The pricing framework defines the boundaries and strategy for setting a product's price. Key inputs into this framework in order to make a decision, in order to set a correct price or strategic price. Number 1 is the cost to produce this product. They like to call this is the floor. You do not want to sell that product at a lower price than it costs to make. You will be running at a loss. So it must recover variable costs and fixed costs that went into making that product. So that is number 1 way to look at. Number 2, client's willingness to pay. And that is the ceiling. So maybe you made this thing, and I think we've seen so many examples where you make a thing at, $10. But because the branding, you've done a very good job at branding, there are customers willing to pay $100 for it. Now, one thing that is missing in between is where your competitors, how much are they selling this product for? So that you will now see where to position yourself. You do not want to set it higher, way higher than your competitors, because no one will pay in most cases. Or if you set it too low, then you are just leaving some money on the table. When to use it? What price should we charge? New product launch, how to set the price for that product. On the profitability side, actually, if the reason why profitability has been going down is the pricing, you could use this framework to figure out whether the company could change their pricing strategy. An example, when Uber launched in Africa, including Kenya, it faced a unique pricing challenge. The cost floor was similar to local competitors, but willingness to pay varied massively between segments. So how would you advise Uber to set their prices? Number 11, how to grow a business. So mostly this one, you look at two major branches of the issue tree. The first branch, you grow within the core business. With everything that I have right now, are there opportunities for me to continue growing? We can look at the current segment. Is there an opportunity for better products, for better marketing? Maybe we are not doing marketing well. Competitive pricing. We just talked about pricing. Maybe we are underpricing. Could we check that? And core business, as we are today, you can also look at the fastest growing segments, and you can put more resources on the new geographies, new customer segment. Number two, the second branch is you can grow outside the core. So two things you can do is you can sell new products to existing customers. So with the customers that we currently have, different geographies, different customer types, what new products can we bring? Could be related to what you are selling already. Can we bring and sell to the existing customers? Or number two, use the capabilities that we currently have and enter into a new business altogether. Number 12, how do we reduce costs? So you can look at three branches. How do we reduce costs? Branch number one, you reduce the need. Do we actually need this activity at all? Number two, you meet that need with less. So you eliminate waste or improve productivity. Branch number three, you reduce the cost of resources, find cheaper alternatives, renegotiate existing contracts. And lastly, shall we make an investment? This framework evaluates whether a specific capital investment is worth taking or worth making. You analyze its impact across three dimensions. The first dimension, impact on the costs. Does this investment save money? How much and how quickly? Number two, impact on revenue. Does this investment grow revenue, new customers, higher prices, more volume? Number three, implementation. Can we actually do this? It might be attractive, but do we have capability to do it? An example, in early 2010s, Amazon faced a critical investment decision: build a network of fulfillment centers close to major urban population, enabling same-day and next-day delivery, a cost of $14 billion between 2010 and 2013. The question is this investment worth it? You are the consultant. Is it worth it? So those are 13 frameworks that will be like the starting point. And before you go, like I mentioned, a framework is not a template. And so you just do not memorize them and use them as they are. You have to adapt to the client context, to the nuances. Watch out for those nuances as they read out the question. Another thing to keep in mind, and I want you to bring it up. Force it. I don't know how you force it, but force it. Say something around, I was listening to a podcast the other day, or I read in the news, or I watched in the news, or I read Financial Times, I was reading Wall Street Journal. Force, I don't know how you will force it, and I hope you're reading news. And if you want to go into consulting and advise businesses on their strategies, then you need to start learning about business by reading what's going on in the world. Understand what's going on in the world, current affairs, and make sure you bring one. Just bring one to the case. As you go through, like I mentioned, for instance, if you are trying to figure out why the profitability went down, you could say, I understand there, tariff situation going on, or with the war going on in Russia and Ukraine, maybe that affected whatever. Or I read in the news that this is happening. And so my hypothesis therefore is maybe something like that. Make sure you bring something in the real world that is currently happening, that you listened in a podcast, you watched in the news, you read in the business papers. Until next time, all the best. I'll see you in the next episode. Subscribe if you like this kind of content, and all the best.